Hi, everyone. I'm Eric Bolling. Welcome to Cashin In. Our Cashin In crew this week: Jonathan Hoenig, Michelle Fields, Juan Williams, and Katie Pavlich. Wayne Rogers is off today. Welcome, everybody. Remember the surfer dude who was dining on lobster and sushi with your money from food stamps? Well, now he's saying don't blame him, blame Uncle Sam. Take a listen to his reply when asked if he's taking advantage of the system.
Do I have to apologize for the way the system's set up? I don't feel I need to apologize for it. It's just the way you're wording it kind of seems like I'm getting kind of like the ruler on the ruler on the hand.
Well, maybe he needs the ruler on the hand. But Michelle, is he right? Is the system set up for this kind of waste, fraud, and abuse?
Yeah, you know, what he's doing to taxpayers is wrong, but we shouldn't be vilifying him. We should be vilifying this system. He thinks what he's doing is right because the government has now made living off welfare a lifestyle choice. And let's be honest, Surfer Dude is Nancy Pelosi's ideal model citizen. He doesn't have to suffer from job lock. He gets to chill on the beach, trying to become a musician. He eats healthy, which, of course, Michelle Obama would approve of, and it's all paid for by taxpayer dollars. It's crazy.
Right, exactly, Michelle. And John, we've gone from somewhere around, we've had a 68% increase in the number of Americans on food stamps from 2008 to 2013. And you got to think, a lot of those people are playing the system like this.
Indeed, Eric. I mean, entitlements create the entitlement mentality. They create the parasitism. I mean, I think Surfer Dude is really a victim in all of this. It creates the parasitism that he is suffering from. The answer isn't to rein in the entitlements or get the waste, fraud, and abuse out of entitlements, but to eliminate the entitlements. And it comes back to this fundamental of who owns your life. Not Surfer Dude, not the public, not the government. And in a free society, you get to decide who is deserving of your money. And you know what? There's no right to consume other people's life. If you want to help someone in need, people are very charitable. Surfer Dude is not in need, and he should be not getting a dime of the taxpayers' dough.
Juan, is it okay with you that Surfer Dude is buying lobster and sushi with his EBT card?
Yeah, you can, as long as the food meets the requirements. Look, he's obeying the law. But the problem with this whole conversation is that he's not representative of people on food stamps. That guy is an extreme example of someone who is playing the system. It is legal. What he's doing is within the law. But he's playing the system because he looks to me to be a healthy, capable guy. And I agree with others who say, you know what, why is that guy not working? If he wants to learn how to play music, do it in his free time. But I must say, you are making it out as if this guy represents the reason for the increase in food stamps in the country. This country's been through a terrible recession, and there are a lot of legitimately needy people who are being helped.
Let's be fair. There's no question there are a lot of people who need help, and that's what the SNAP program, the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, is for. But, Katie, let's talk about this. Look at the numbers. In 2008, we spent around $39 billion on food stamps or nutrition programs. In 2013, that number jumped 111% to almost $80 billion. Should this be the case?
It shouldn't be the case, and the argument that we've been in a recession for 5 years is getting a little bit old when it comes to people still being on these entitlement programs. And if Juan is going to argue that this guy isn't the example of the people abusing the system and that most people are using the system properly, then why is it that when Republicans and conservatives try to cut 1% out of the food stamp budget in order to get rid of that waste, fraud, and abuse, they throw a fit and say that we simply want to starve people, right? And so it's really important to keep in mind that this abuse does go on. There are multiple instances of it, and we try to clean it up, and yet the government is set up in a way that entitles these people to continue abusing.
I think you need to realize.
I want to make this transition one. I really have to do this. I want to turn this here because obviously we're spending a lot more on food programs. Take a look at the proposed budget going forward. Look what's going on. We're actually talking about cutting the military budget by almost $80 billion from 2010 to 2014. So, I don't know. Let me start with you, John. Is this the right thing to do? On one hand, we're cutting the military budget. On entitlement and mandatory spending, it's skyrocketing.
Well, I mean, I think the military budget, in my opinion, Eric, is bloated. We could destroy militant Islam with a fraction of our current military budget if we actually had the cojones to do it. That being said, fundamentally, defense is a responsibility of government. Government is force. Defense is what keeps us safe. That's why all these entitlement programs weren't present in the Constitution, have no constitutional bearing, but they've made it in nonetheless. So defense is a proper role of government. Redistribution is not.
All right, so let me do this, Juan. I'm going to throw this to you, and I want to put a picture up here of two different people. We're going to take Surfer Boy on one side, and we're going to take a military guy on the other side. Are we now handing over lobster and sushi to Surfer Dude at the expense of the military guys who, by the way, Juan, by the way, they're going to have to pay more for TRICARE, which is the military health care system. They're going to have to pay more for housing, and their pay is being frozen. Is that fair? Is this the America we want?
This is so simplistic as to be laughable. Are you kidding me? Even Jonathan said our military budget is overwhelmingly bloated. We have programs that even the military says they don't want or need. And when it comes to Surfer Dude, everybody says that guy looks like a bum. Well, he shouldn't be encouraging him, but it's also the case that 1 out of every 6 Americans goes to bed hungry, and we shouldn't tolerate that in our society.
Okay, Katie, money is fungible.
So why do you tolerate it, Juan?
Hold on, guys. Money is fungible, which means if you're taking from one and giving to another, it's the same dollar. Right. Am I taking a cheap shot at Surfer Dude, or is this? These are the numbers, Katie, are they not?
No, it's absolutely valid. And I would say that we should shame people like Surfer Dude. Sure, the government and the system is set up that they can take advantage of it easily, but I think it's the obligation of the civilians not to take advantage of their fellow taxpayer who is footing the bill for that. In terms of military spending, there's bloated budgets in every aspect of the government. That is true. But when it comes down to this idea that we can somehow balance the entitlements off of the backs of the military isn't driving our debt. Long-term entitlement programs are. And again, going back to that, whenever we try to reform those entitlement programs, everyone throws a fit and we can't get anywhere because people say that we just want people to starve and people are going to go to bed hungry.
Poverty levels are not going down. We were spending in the year 2000, $17 billion. Now it's at $80 billion, and we're not seeing any results at all. Why not implement programs that lift people out of poverty? All of these programs do is just make people feel more comfortable living in poverty. We need better policies.
Go ahead. Let me get Juan.
Let me just say, Juan continues to say, well, they're needy, they're needy, they're needy. It doesn't matter. Need is not a standard of value. Juan, if you want to help people in need, help them. That happens all the time. But government is not a charity, and you can't use force to alleviate what you see as societal ills.
Go ahead, Juan.
It's not a matter of force. Again, we are a society. We are America. And the idea that you guys want to demonize the poor, that you want to push them to the curb, gee,
why
do these people who are hungry bother our conscience? I think that's a shame. You should understand, and you've all said it, the military is bloated in this country, and it is a driver of our deficit. It is a huge driver.
You're lighting a fire in a crowded movie theater right now. Maybe there's ways to cut back on certain areas of the military, but however, on the backs, Katie, we got to go. But the thought of a military man having to pay more for his health care while we're bending over backwards to make sure Pajama Boy gets his free Obamacare, this is insanity.
It's insanity, it's asinine, it's a disgrace, and we should be treating our military better, and we should probably keep that in mind when people like President Obama claim to be caring about the military while they balance our budget and fuel our entitlement programs in the system off of the backs of our military personnel.
We're going to have to leave it right now. Well, you might want to take a closer look at the receipt next time you eat out. More diners getting slapped with a 1% Affordable Care Act surcharge on their tabs. First, it was a restaurant in L.A., and now it's a restaurant chain in Florida. Obamacare surcharges are going coast to coast, folks. Some liberals bashing the companies, saying it's a political stunt, but the owners are saying they need to pay for their added costs somehow. Jonathan, who's right?
Well, a stunt? I mean, like, restaurants want to piss off their customers, Eric? No. In a free market, they compete for lower prices. They want to attract customers. But, of course, Obama is nothing to do with a free market, and that's why 2/3 of small businesses are reporting that their costs already are going to go up under Obamacare. One of the restaurants profiled, I mean, they got 500 employees, Eric. It's going to cost them another $500,000, not to mention a full-time staffer, just to comply with Obamacare's regulations. $500,000, that could have been a whole new restaurant. How many numbers of jobs? So Harry Reid talks about all these horror stories being untrue. Senator, open the paper and stop evading reality. Obamacare is pushing costs up for everybody.
For everyone. And the point is, Katie, that's not just restaurants. Restaurants are the first to do it, maybe because their margins are so paper thin. But think about other things. What about airlines? What about next time you want to buy a cup of coffee? I mean, it really drives the cost of everything up, does it not?
It drives the cost of everything up, and more particularly, I'm wondering where the tourist industry is when it comes to protesting Obamacare, because when people are paying $1,000 more for their premium every month, guess what? They're not going to have time to go on that vacation or to go to those restaurants to eat out. When it comes to the surcharge being put right on the receipt and liberals saying that it's a political ploy, they're just upset that restaurants are holding them accountable and showing the customers, this isn't us raising your prices, this is the government, and this is what Obamacare is. It's not just about your health care, it's about impacting every aspect of your life. You can't even go to dinner now without Obamacare being in your face and making your costs go up.
Okay, Juan, so what happens the next time you go into your local Hooters, which I know you love to frequent, and there's an ACA charge at the bottom of that? You're going to start to push back on Obamacare just a little bit, no?
This is so ridiculous. You know, the fact is Obamacare is cutting the rate of growth of cost of health care in this country. And if you look at everything from the cars you buy to the airplanes you get on, everything has the cost of health care built in, and it's in our national interest to get that cost curve heading south. It was heading north, and we got to stop it. And let me just point out to you before you guys jump me, let me just point out right around here in D.C., AOL just got into terrible trouble because they said to people, you know, 2 women had disabled children. They had troubled births, and therefore we're raising your health care costs. So when people see this stuff, then they say, oh, gosh, you know what? You're not in keeping with family values. That should not be told to us. We don't want to hear that. Right. Pay the health care costs.
Right. I'm pretty sure they apologize. But, Michelle, hold on. Let's be fair and balanced on this. Let's be fair and balanced on this. The health care law has been delayed by President Obama for another year, and some of these companies really don't have to have Obamacare just yet. Are they being cheap and petty by starting to charge for ACA now?
No, I think, like Katie said, they want to hold the government accountable. They feel that they were lied to by this president, and they want to show Americans why this is so damaging and costly. Obama promised that small businesses would save money, that they would save $3,000 per employee. Now we know that 2/3 of businesses, that's 10 million workers, are going to see their premiums go up. And you know where that report came from, Juan? That came from your buddy, Obama's White House. They're the ones who came out with that report. So you saying that this is ridiculous, you don't know what we're talking about, this is from Obama.
You don't know what you're talking about, and the fact is that what the president said has come true, and the CBO has certified it. We are paying less as a country for health care as a result of Obamacare, and a lot of these small
businesses have seen their health insurance go up for 5 years straight, and now they're not even going to have health insurance. They're going to drop all of their employees. They're going to have to go to the market and pay more money.
All right, let me get John in here. John, wrap this segment up.
I mean, Juan is evading reality. To Michelle's point, this is the president's own numbers that costs are going up. And I know we think of business people as being these greedy SOBs.
No, this came from the White House.
The White House itself, Juan. And it's not only for small businesses, Eric. It's for hospitals, it's for medical device manufacturers. I mean, government is force, and force in healthcare is pushing up costs for everyone. And Juan's argument is basically, if you don't do it, then you don't care about poor people, you don't care about those in need.
No,
what
I'm saying
SOB are you?
Hey, John,
quickly, Juan, we got to go quickly.
It's lower.
All right, we're going to leave it right there because we could do this all day. Talk about having a distorted view. Barbara Walters taking heat for going easy on Vice President Joe Biden. This week on The View, she even said this.
I don't think there's much doubt that you're a superb Vice President.
Michelle, a superb VP. Why all the kissing up?
You know, these are the people who are supposed to be holding this president accountable, and they're not. Instead, they're kissing up to him. If Barbara Walters and others had done their job and actually looked into the damaging policies of this administration, we wouldn't have had Obamacare. We wouldn't have had these disastrous policies. I think that they are partially to blame for all of this.
Katie, softball in February in New York City, I didn't even know it was a sport.
Well, it is now, apparently, and Barbara Walters is the team of that, or the captain of that team. But I think the bigger issue is, of course, The View, we know, is more like a talk show. I don't know how I would consider them serious journalists. But the problem is that when you do have a mainstream press that doesn't hold the government accountable, then we see government corruption going unchecked, which ultimately sets a precedent for both Republican and Democratic administrations down the road to continue that bad behavior. So I think it does have a negative long-term effect on our policies and the way that taxpayers have to pay for policies that are bad.
Sure. And Juan, you know, I watched that interview, and all the while the vice president was talking, you know, Whoopi was like, yeah, nodding approvingly. But if you listen to what he was saying, he was basically talking to women saying, look, a lot of you out there are single women, you have crummy jobs, you're just working for the health care, and no one held him to his feet to the fire. I couldn't believe it. By the way, if a GOP-er said that, there would be the next war on women coming from the right.
Yep.
Wait a second. First of all, you know, Vice President Biden is very popular with the American people. This is not just Barbara Walters of The View somehow, you know, pumping him up. That guy is a very popular American political leader.
But
Second thing to say is, if you think about the office of the vice president and what Dick Cheney did while he was there, maybe that's why people say, oh, wow, you're a superb vice president. Remember that.
Okay. John, should we be in awe of the vice president? I mean, this is just absolutely ludicrous.
Well, Eric, I mean, Juan is right. The vice president is popular with the American public. The president is popular with the American public because the American public and the media, by and large, share his values: collectivism, self-sacrifice, altruism, and this is American culture these days. And if you're an individualist, if you're out for self-interest, if you believe in capitalism, what does the left tell you are? You're extreme, you're dangerous. I mean, and the GOP, Eric, I got to tell you, I think is even to blame. I mean, they're not talking about getting rid of food stamps. They're not talking about getting rid of government involvement in healthcare. In fact, Dave Camp is talking about, he's a GOPer, talking about a surcharge on the wealthy. Right. So we need a political party to stand up for the individual.
You want to know something?
We need a cultural revolution in this country. That's what needs to happen.
I'd give my right arm to have 5 minutes on tape with Vice President Biden or President Obama. I guarantee we wouldn't be talking about some of the things that the lovely ladies of The View are talking about. We're going to have to leave it there. We're going to say thank you to Michelle Fields, Katie Pavlich, and Juan Williams for joining us this week. Great week, everybody.